everybody. This is Barsha. I hope everybody is mentally okay. We've all been broken for the past few weeks, but I wanted to discuss something very important with you guys. I wanted to discuss the topic of privilege. That word has been thrown around a lot past few weeks, considering the context of what we are living through, and I thought it was important to discuss that. For the purposes of this video, I will have to throw around words like black people, brown people, white people, which is very strange for me. But I don't mean anything negative by it, but it's just I need to use those words for the context. Um, so this 2 weeks have broken me to my core, as have broken all of us. And I sat in self-reflection and I asked myself, am I privileged? And the truth is, I have never felt privileged. In fact, I have always felt that I don't have the privilege of the white man, right? I'm an immigrant. I'm brown. I'm a female. I'm Muslim. And I've worn a hijab pretty much my entire life. So I have five strikes against me that make me not privileged in a white man's world, right? Um, so then I asked myself, am I afraid of the cops? And the answer is no. I have never, thankfully, felt afraid of the cops, nor have my immediate family. In fact, we felt safe by the cops. If cops pull us over, it's like, okay, fine, what do you want? What did I do, officer? I'm sorry. Like, okay, can I just go? I'm late. And I'll call the cops if I'm ever scared or if I feel like I need their help. So I have never felt afraid of them. Have I faced racism in other forms of my life? Of course. But in this sense, I never have faced that. And so then I realized that even when I have all these things against me, I am still more privileged than a black man. And then I realized that until you have the most oppressed group of people become equal to that of the white man, all these in between oppressed groups of people, Muslims, Browns, Latinos, undocumented people, um, all of those people can only become equal to that of the white man when the most oppressed group of person becomes equal, and that is a black man. So I hope that kind of put it in perspective for you guys, because it did for me. The second thing I wanted to discuss is amongst my group of brown Muslim people, I've seen I've seen a shift. I've seen it go half and half for the past 2 weeks. I've seen half of us be very pro Black Lives Matter, like, we need to be side by side with them to make sure that they are equal, because we're an oppressed group of people too, right? Muslims in this right now, currently, are being killed on mass levels throughout the world. So we know to an extent what oppression feels like. So why not be with my black brothers and sisters right now when they're more oppressed than us and there's a movement going on? In essence, we recognize that all lives matter, but how can all lives matter when black lives clearly do not matter as much as brown lives, as much as white lives, as much as any lives? So, in an essence, the whole Black Lives Matter movement is to be equal, is to be an all lives matter, right? Why would there even be a movement if all lives mattered, right? So I need you guys to understand that. I have a lot of brown Muslim folks who are just like, no, 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 all lives matter. Where were those people when Muslims are being killed every day? Where were people when Palestinians are being brutally killed every single day? When Chinese are wiping out Muslims all like past year, where the Rohingyas are being eliminated? I can give you like 500 examples and probably 500 more examples that I don't even know about because I don't keep up with current events like that, where Muslims are persecuted. So when Muslims say that, I feel like there's a sense of pain and bitterness behind that. Like, wait, where was everyone when we're getting killed? But I think what they need to recognize is, well, where was everyone when black people are being killed all the time for hundreds of years? So now that there is a movement to make the most oppressed equal, why can't we as a group of oppressed people side with another group of oppressed people, the more oppressed people, right? Why can't we be a movement behind them so that we are eventually all equal? It's not about you're not fighting my battle. And in fact, that's a wrong statement. A lot of black people have fought for the rights of Muslims. Um, but it's not a matter of you haven't fought for my battle, so I'm not fighting for yours. That is the most un-Islamic, that is the most selfish thing to say. Um, because you can be this selfish, and that's a beautiful thing about this movement too, that there's a global pandemic where every single person protesting right now can essentially die from COVID, but they are not valuing their lives more than that of a black man, that they're saying, you know what, I want your life to be so equal that I'm willing to die right now, and there's a chance of me dying right now being in these mass protests. So this is the most phenomenal, most historic movement I've ever seen in my life, where all sorts of people, black, white, brown, everyone is protesting and saying that, you know what, I'm willing to die in these protests, but I'm not willing to wait another year for you to continue to die. So there's a lot of beauty in this moment, amongst the sadness, right? Um, so that's one thing. Um, the last thing I wanted to bring up is, white privilege for white folks. Again, I don't know the black struggle. I don't know all the things they do to keep themselves safe. I can only speak on, the brown struggle. And, I've seen a lot of white friends of mine who are just good human beings, who are not racist. Well, I don't really know racist white people. I don't really hang out with them. But they've reached out to me, and I love that they've reached out to me. And they've genuinely asked, like, Barsha, I'm not racist. Like, I don't get how I have privilege. And I love it when they ask. And the reason I love it when they ask is a few reasons. One reason is, how can you expect someone to open their eyes when they've lived a certain privileged life? They have not lived in your shoes to know what you're going through, right? How can a good non-racist white woman know her subconscious racisms, as well as the privileged life that she's led? If you don't tell them, sometimes you just gotta tell them. And I think that's what I also love about this movement, that it's become such a tipping point where no uncomfortable conversation is left unheard. You know what? No, I'm gonna ask you the most uncomfortable questions. I'm gonna ask you X, Y, and Z, and self-reflect. And you know what? You break down, you cry, and you think about that. And I love it. I love that this is such an awareness moment. But I also understand how it can be so overwhelming to good white people who are not racist. That way, all this self-reflection is coming all at once. But you know what? You need it. I need it. We all need it, for us to truly understand it. And it's sad that it's taken so long to get here, right? But we're here. So, white privilege can come in many forms. White privilege can come in forms such as simple as, you know what, are you going to cross the street when there's a group of white guys or a group of black guys and you're coming home at night? Simple as, our black and brown people, we're followed in the stores. When we go to high-end stores like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, anything, I'm followed around as if I can't afford it. Why? Because I'm brown, really? But we've accepted that. Something as bigger as, we have to, people of color and black people, we have to figure out what cities or what states we would move our families to when we buy a home, because we can't move to an all-white neighborhood, because why would I put myself through that, right? So those are little things, and there's so millions of examples you can give. But I think one of the main things I want to let you know is, when there's a shooting, right, on TV, and somebody killed a bunch of people, every Muslim person I know, brown Muslim person I know, we're like, please, 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 please don't let it be a Muslim person. Please, for God's sakes, don't let it be a Muslim person. Don't let the man have a beard. Don't let him have his name be Muhammad, please. And then, lo and behold, when it is a Muslim person, the narrative is the same. The narrative, they will get the most ugliest bearded picture of this man. And the narrative is the same. Oh, you know what? He's very quiet. You know what? He's been very involved with them, with radical Islamists lately. He's been talking to Al Qaeda past few years, and it's been festering up. And you know what? He hates the American way of life. And you're just like you want to die when you see this because you're just like, oh man, now people I have to answer for that. Now people are gonna be like, oh Varsha, how do you feel about that? And you're just like, oh, I don't. What do you want me to tell you? I think he's a martyr. He doesn't represent me. I think he deserves to die because how dare you kill somebody else? How like come on. Like I have to answer for that when I had nothing to do with that. He's a murderer. In Islam, it says if you kill one person, it's as if you've killed all of humanity. So how do you want me to answer that, right? But that's the reality we've accepted. Um, Same thing goes for when a black unarmed man gets killed. What do you see on the media? Immediately, they'll pull up rap sheets. They will put up pictures of like them holding guns, a Facebook picture of them holding guns, or some violent picture to make it seem like he's a gang member, to make it seem like it's just like immediately like the media's narrative to you is just like, well, damn, God, like that's a thug, like my goodness, did he? Why was he resisting? Like, what did he do before the video? Oh, poor cops. Can you imagine what an animal that was when the cops had to approach him? Like, the narrative of the media is the same all the time. When in fact, even they tried to do that with George Floyd. They tried to pull up his rap sheet. But why didn't you pull up the cop's rap sheet, the one who had his knee on his neck? His rap sheet of all the complaints against him. I think there were 17 complaints. I believe he murdered a Native American person a few years ago. Like, where's his rap sheet? Um, and last but not least, when a white kid blows up a school, right? Like a school full of innocent little kindergartners or anything. Um, you know, the narrative is the same. They will pull up a beautiful graduation picture of him, like the sweetest picture you can find. They'll interview neighbors that says, "Oh, he was such a sweet kid. I didn't know he was going through that." They will pull up all these conversations of he was being bullied in school for the past few years. Can you imagine being bullied? Can you imagine, like, at some point a human being is a tipping point? You know what? He was in depression. He was seeing a therapist, but nobody was understanding him. Just 2 days ago, he was beaten up. And then our narrative is like, well, damn, this kid is getting beaten up. Like, what can you do? Like, poor kid. Like, well, I wish he didn't blow up the school, but like, I understand. He is seen as a human. He is seen as a human being who has been beaten up, so you kind of feel bad for him almost. You feel bad for a murderer. Like the cop will feed him a Burger King before taking him to jail, right? Peacefully take him, right? So it's just the narrative is different. And that is white privilege. We don't get that narrative. No Muslim person can be just a depressed person. They just can't be a bad person. But a white person gets to have that image and nobody else does. So in that sense, yeah, Black Lives Matter. In that sense, all lives matter because you know what? We're trying to get the black life to matter to the white life, the brown life to matter, the every race to matter. We want to be equal. So in essence, the Black Lives movement is an all lives movement because let's get there, right? So let me know what you think. Alrighty, take care, guys. Bye.